Now, each year in June, as a country, we commemorate Youth Month as an act of remembrance and celebration of the youth of 1976, who took a bold stand which had a significant impact on the history of South Africa. Today, we are joined in studio by the General Secretary of the Young Communist League, Mlu Dlelanga. Mlu, thank you very much for joining us. I want to seize the moment before we go to the youth matters. You have just come out of the Central Committee of the South African Communist Party, which was addressed by President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday. How would you describe the mood?
I must say that indeed the mood is quite electrifying, and indeed the question of the new dawn, we welcomed it as the communists in South Africa, and now ours is to give a class perspective of it for the benefit of the class.
Okay, and there was an issue about corruption.
Definitely, yes. We have identified the main immediate challenge and our task that in the main is corruption and the plastic bourgeoisies, that we must dismantle them, because we want a country that is free of corruption, and we can't allow comrades to lose state resources that are supposed to benefit our people. And you must, even if it's me, Mlu, who's been found corrupt, must be dealt with. It's a message that we gave to the president, that we support him on this endeavor that is engaging on this question of corruption. Okay. Because if we allow corruption to happen in our country, our people lose hope on the Congress movement, and also the people, those who are poor, will remain more poorer, and the elite will continue to be more richer at the expense of the poor.
Now, June is Youth Month. What would you, as the Young Communist League, like to see different from 2017?
It's important to note that, as the YCL have launched our Youth Month on Thursday in Kuruman, Northern Cape Province. Yes. Under the theme, let's be like Chris Hani and be like the 1976 youth generation. And we say that in the main, currently, with the spirit of the new dawn, welcome the new dawn, which means there must be a new strategy and a new approach on social issues facing the youth in our country, and the young people must also be involved to that. For instance, we say that yes, the president came up with a program of youth employment strategy. Yes, but that on its own, there was no sufficient consultation with the Progressive Youth Alliance. As such, we welcome that. But in the main, we feel that we want to be part of the implementation of that strategy in line with his vision of the new dawn. And in doing that, our main focus should be on skilling of the youth in our country, focusing on youth unemployment. And we know that we can't just scratch the youth unemployment now, but we must make a dent on the youth unemployment. At the same time, as we say that you must be like a generation of 1976 and be like Chris Hani, let's only not do the way we've done things previously. Let's look at what are the current youth questions. Amongst the main now is the question of the abuse of young girls and women in our country. Yes. It's an area that we want to anchor as young communities, because if Chris Hani are still alive, we're not going to allow that. If the leaders of the 1976 generation are still alive, we're not going to allow the abuse of young women in our country. That is our entry point. That will be different as young communist league. On the other part, we say that let's focus on this question of youth employment and youth development and youth empowerment. Yes. That's an area that also you have to focus on, because if you've got a skilled and empowered youth, you will have a more viable and vibrant nation. Because if you look at the whole population of our country, it is youthful. Yes. Therefore, a special focus is needed to focus on the majority of the young people. But at the same time, for us to be like Chris Hani and to be like the 1976 generation, we must also consolidate our own structures as young people in our country. Yes. Because if we've got a strong young communist league, got a strong COSAS, got a strong youth league, and a strong SASCO, therefore, that on its own will contribute. We will have one voice on achieving what we plan to achieve.
A politically conscious youth would make it even easier for a structure like the YCL to operate in the townships or in villages or wherever that whatever the area it is that you're supposed to exist in. You have raised a point here that one of the focus areas that you're going to look into is the abuse of young women by whether it be men, their boyfriends, or whatever. I give an example of why should a Tami somewhere be bothered that the YCL exists in the fight against this femicide and abuse of young women?
I think we always said that the women's struggles as the YCL are our own struggles. Now we say that all the challenges facing and the abuse facing the youth and the women in our country is our own struggles. And we'll continue to go down with our structures and even the youth in general to engage them about these issues. And we call them that they must rise up and raise these issues that are affecting them in their corners. But there are those, for instance, who get abused but cover up the stories because some benefit on that abuse.
Yes, because Tami gives money to that person or her family.
Yeah. The problem is, hence we call for a new strategy within the framework of the new dawn. That the question of the youth empowerment, including development, is at the center. These young girls at times find vulnerable from these elite that have amassed the resources and want to change use these girls as a commodity.
Yes, bless us.
They own them. In that process, as they own them, whatever that girl, the thinking, the way of life and everything, when that girl begins to use her own thinking, then the abuse part comes off. Because it doesn't see that as a girl or as a girlfriend or a friend. He sees that as a commodity, as something that he owns, that is entitled to do whatever I want to do with that girl. It means that the views of that girl on it and the right of thinking and the right of association and everything for that girl is shut down. Then that's an area that as the YCL we must come in and say that don't sit in your corner. Raise issues, will be there for you. And we want to make sure that as we say no to violence meted to the children and the young girls in our country, our young girls on its own must not allow themselves to be abused. Instead, must be with us. For instance, during this youth month as the YCL, we'll be responding on this youth employment strategy that the president has launched.
Yes.
Because we want to give perspective of that in line with the challenges facing the youth in our country.
What's the solution?
The solution, first and foremost, is that young people, both the PYA components, must be engaged by the president.
Okay.
But also, we can't just say must be engaged. We are coming up, for instance, with the Young Communist League, with a strategy. For instance, we have last year launched our youth manifesto, focusing on these critical youth questions that are burning to the youth of our country. Then this year, we want to focus on what the president had put on the table and make that benefit all the youth of our country, regardless of their color, regardless of their class, and regardless of their gender. That on its own requires brave and class-conscious youth, like the Young Communist, that now we must come up with that document. It will be releasing next week, that everybody will understand, and the youth of our country will go through it, so that as we do so, we begin as the YCL to champion what is in the interest of the youth in our country.
Are you not, as a socialist movement, trying to fit into a capitalist agenda which is being pursued by the president?
I don't think that a notion that says that the president is pushing the capital agenda is all right. Because the president came and addressed the SACP, and his main area of focus is the unification of the alliance.
Okay.
And alliance also to drive the national democratic revolution.
Okay.
Then ours as young people in our country, first and foremost, is to advance the NDR, is to champion the NDR, and even defend the NDR when it is under attack. But we as young communists, we go beyond the NDR on its own, because we say NDR is a direct route to socialism.
Yes.
And we know that on its own is not automatic, it's being struggled for.
Sure. Mlu, we must have this class-conscious discussions often.
Yeah, I think it's important that the question of patriotism and a more class-conscious youth is needed to address all these issues facing our country. Because even the question of the violence meted to the young women, it's more of capitalist-oriented issue which requires a class-conscious youth to understand the right and the value of women in society.
Mlu Dlelanga is the Secretary General, the General Secretary of the Young Communist League. As we move on with our news.